Frozen food has a reputation for being convenient, and it deserves it. Freezing preserves nutrients and quality, reduces food waste, and makes it possible to have a nutritious meal ready in minutes. For many foods, cooking straight from the freezer works perfectly well. But not all frozen foods behave the same way under heat. And for 4 specific categories, cooking from frozen creates either a food safety risk, a significant texture problem, or both. Culinary dietitians identified the 4 foods that should always be thawed before cooking, and the explanations behind each category reveal something important about how heat moves through frozen food and why the exterior temperature can be dangerously misleading. Let us start with the category that carries the most serious safety risk: chicken and pork. These are the 2 foods where cooking from frozen most consistently creates a genuine food poisoning risk. The problem is not that frozen chicken or pork cannot eventually reach a safe temperature. The problem is that cooking frozen meat creates an uneven heat distribution that allows the outside to appear fully cooked while the inside remains undercooked or partially frozen. Chicken cooked from frozen can look done on the surface with no pink visible, while the interior is still at a temperature where salmonella and other harmful bacteria remain active. The same uneven cook applies to pork. The danger intensifies dramatically with slow cookers. A slow cooker works at low temperatures over an extended period, which is exactly what makes it convenient. But if the meat goes in frozen, it spends a prolonged period in the temperature range between 40 and 140 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what food safety guidelines call the danger zone. Bacteria multiply quickly in this range, and the longer food stays in it, the greater the risk. A slow cooker cannot pull a frozen piece of chicken through that danger zone quickly enough to be safe. The safe approach is to thaw chicken and pork in the refrigerator before cooking, and to verify doneness with a food thermometer every time. Chicken must reach a minimum internal temperature of 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Whole cuts of pork need to reach at least 145 degrees and rest for 3 minutes before cutting or eating. Ground pork should reach 160 degrees. The thermometer reading matters because color and texture alone are not reliable indicators of whether the interior has reached a safe temperature, particularly after cooking from frozen. Thick cuts of meat. The physics here are the same as with chicken and pork, but the scale of the problem is larger. A thick pot roast or large beef cut has so much mass that the outer layer can be perfectly seared while the center remains raw or even still frozen. The temperature gradient from surface to core is simply too steep when you start from a frozen state. Even using moderate heat over a longer cooking time does not reliably solve this for very thick cuts, because the surface will overcook and dry out before the center reaches a safe temperature. The solution is refrigerator thawing, and there is a specific warning that comes with this. Do not thaw meat on the counter. Counter thawing allows the outer portions of the meat to reach room temperature while the interior is still cold or frozen. That outer layer sits in the bacterial danger zone for however long it takes the whole cut to thaw, which can be several hours for a large piece of meat. Refrigerator thawing keeps the entire surface of the meat at a safe, cold temperature throughout the thaw. Whole cuts of meat should reach at least 145 degrees Fahrenheit during cooking and rest for 3 minutes before carving. Casseroles. The risk here is more about quality than safety, though the safety element is also present. A deeply packed casserole, like a layered lasagna, cooked directly from frozen produces dramatically uneven results. The edges and top layer cook and brown normally while the center remains cold. You can end up with crispy, almost overcooked edges and a center that has not yet reached a food-safe temperature. The texture throughout the dish suffers, and the parts that are fully cooked cool down while you wait for the center to catch up. Thawing casseroles in the refrigerator before baking produces even cooking throughout and a better final texture. A food thermometer confirms the center has reached an internal temperature of at least 165 degrees Fahrenheit before the dish is considered safe to serve. Tender vegetables. The issue with soft vegetables like diced tomatoes and leafy greens is structural rather than primarily safety related. These vegetables have cell walls that provide their texture and hold their moisture in balance. When they go directly from frozen into heat, the sudden temperature change breaks down those cell walls faster than gradual thawing would. The result is a mushy texture and an excess of released liquid that dilutes sauces, soaks pan-fried dishes, and undermines the entire recipe. Allowing tender vegetables to thaw completely first, and then draining or squeezing out the excess liquid before cooking, preserves what remains of their structure and prevents the watering down effect. The liquid that frozen vegetables release during thawing is not something you want in a sauté or baked dish. Removing it before cooking gives you significantly better control over the final result. Now here's the piece worth knowing that the individual food categories do not fully address. The safest thawing method is always the refrigerator, and it requires planning ahead. Refrigerator thawing is slow. A chicken breast may take 24 hours. A large roast may take 2 or 3 days. But it keeps food at a consistently safe temperature throughout the process, which eliminates the bacterial risk that counterthawing creates. If you need to thaw faster, submerging the sealed package in cold water and changing the water every 30 minutes is a safe method for smaller cuts. Microwave thawing works, but should be followed by immediate cooking, because microwave thawing can heat some parts of the food enough to start cooking them, creating uneven temperature that needs to be addressed right away. Using a food thermometer for all of these foods is not optional if food safety is the goal. Temperature is the only reliable way to confirm that the interior of a piece of meat or a casserole has reached the point where harmful bacteria are killed. Appearance and texture can suggest doneness, but cannot confirm it, especially after cooking from a frozen state where the heat distribution has been uneven from the start. And here is the broader context that ties all 4 of these categories together, because it explains why the frozen food industry's general guidance to cook many products from frozen does not mean all frozen foods behave the same. Foods that cook well from frozen tend to share certain characteristics. They are thin, they are small, or they are already pre-cooked and simply need reheating. Frozen peas, corn, edamame, and most other whole frozen vegetables fall into the cook from frozen category, precisely because their small size allows heat to penetrate quickly and evenly. Frozen fish fillets, particularly thin cuts like tilapia, can often be cooked from frozen safely because the thin profile eliminates the dangerous temperature gradient. Pre-cooked frozen meals and proteins need only to reach reheating temperatures rather than food-safe cooking temperatures, which changes the risk profile. The 4 categories identified in this video share the opposite characteristics. They are thick, densely packed, or structurally fragile, in ways that make direct from frozen cooking either unsafe or severely compromised in quality. Recognizing which category your frozen food falls into before it goes into the oven or pan is the habit that makes frozen food both reliably safe and genuinely good to eat. New videos every day covering the food safety and cooking science that helps you prepare meals that are safe, nutritious, and actually taste the way they should.